never think, I never know. I'm stuck and left alone. I've been lost, I've been fine. My cause is not defined. Won't you kiss me? Won't you play? Won't you drive me? Ain't no way I could deny you, I could stray. Won't you kiss me? Ain't no way. Want you, want you. Come and try me now, so come and try me now. I was never left alone. I never think, I never know. I'm stuck and left alone. I've been lost, I've been fine. My cause is not defined. Won't you kiss me? Won't you play? Won't you trust me? Ain't no way I could deny you, I could stray. Will you kiss me? Ain't no way. I was never left alone.
Was good, everybody. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. If everybody can hear me, what's going on? How y'all doing? Welcome to the One Third Show. It's your host, Just DeAndre. How you been? Been a while. Been really a while. Yeah, we ain't did this since July. July. We ain't did this since July. I looked at the last time I went live with the show, and we didn't do it since July. So if you're confused about the numbering, I was trying to do some like seasons episodes or whatever, but I'm gonna just number these in order from now on, from when I do them, so there won't be no confusion with seasons and all of that. And the show may change over time, but bear with me. Let me see. See what we got here. Loud and clear. All right, that's what I'm talking about. Little late. I usually start at least. I want to start right on time. So even when the intro goes, I want to start on the dot. But that was some quote unquote dereliction on my part. If you catch my drift. Hope y'all liking the look. I got this band on my head because I'm looking fuzzy right now. I'm just letting it grow out as wintertime. You know what I'm saying? Having your hair all nice and neat and stuff in the wintertime and let that hawk get into your scalp and in your brain. We got enough problems as it is, right? Heard that speaking of which, I was looking in the news and I heard that the FDA issued a warning on onions. Yeah, so I saw that earlier in the week, and the FDA issued a warning on onions. So watch your onions, wash your onions. You know what I mean? Maybe go to Whole Foods or half your bank account foods or wherever you need to go. But watch your onions. You don't realize how much you actually do use onions when you cook. So, hey. onion powder, all that stuff right there. So let's give a shout out to the people that showed up early, showed out, and showed their support to the channel. So let me look over here. We have Just Ask Shar, as always, the hardest working woman on YouTube. Let's give it up for the Quincy Jones of the spaces of Black YouTube. Let's give it up for Just Ask Shar. Speaking of which, Char's going to have her panel tomorrow, Friday. Just Ask Shar Advice Channel going to do their panel with our lovely Classic Ruby. And our sister Vonda always shows up and clutches of pearls and stuff. So I wonder what Char with the what she's going to have in store for us this week. Last week's topic was very engaging, to say the least. I don't think we even got really to the topic. We was actually hung up on the guy having no shirt on. So, Sir Obadiah, man, salute, man. We always over there having a good time. He did a great piece on the history of North America, going all the way back to the tribes that were there pre-Columbus, pre-Vikings, all of that. You know what I'm saying? So go check it out. It's a wonderful thing to listen to. Learn something, expand your mind. Callie J, salute as always. Salute as always. Juan G's, what's going on, family? What's going on? What's going on with you? Let's see who else we got in the building here. All right, so that's what we have so far, man. I'm going to talk to you for a little bit before we get into the topic at hand. We're talking about millennials. Um, you know what I mean? And, the topic is we're talking about millennials, and, there's some things going on. I'm 40 now, so if you was born in 81, I think it's the 40 to 33. That's what they're talking about. And they're talking about the birth rate crisis. You know what I'm saying? Shar's channel, please check it out in the chat. Hit it up. What's going on, Brandy? What's going on? How you doing, sis? What's going on? So you know what I'm saying, please hit it up, you know what I'm saying, and it will be fun and exciting and stuff like that. Maybe the Reverend Pimp Breezy might stop by and show some support. We never know. Okay. But yeah, man, it's been a little hectic. Things are kind of getting back to normal. You know, things are kind of getting back to normal. Somewhat. Talking about the cases are going down. We lost some more people to complications of the COVID, but really they already had a pre-existing condition. Colin Powell, you know what I'm saying? If you remember him during the Bush administration, probably one of the most respected people in that administration on both sides of the aisle. He passed away, but he had cancer. He had, like, I think, stage 4 cancer. He was 85 years of age. So yeah, but far as that's sad. There's a lot of things going on. You know what I mean? I think COVID is now the backdrop, and we're more concerned about we're more concerned about gender right now. We're so concerned about gender that is crazy, right? There's a comedian, our brother Dave Chappelle. The cancel people came out. I think I don't have a problem with cancel culture, but when it gets off the rails, it gets off the rails. Um, and I think everybody forgot about what it was, or what he was actually talking about. You know, and he was a friend of the trans person in question that was actually backing him and had his back. And they basically turned on the trans person, and the person ultimately killed themselves. I don't know what it was. I think that was the that didn't help the cause. I guess they felt it like an outsider and stuff like that. But they want to bring down and boycott his special, but they didn't want that, so they stopped talking about that, and then they went to something else, and they talked about doing something else, and the thing that they talked about doing, let's jump into that real quick, because I wanted to bring this up before I get into the top of the piece that I wanted to talk about, with us millennials. I'm 40, millennial, salute. Take a little sip of my Stitch mug. Y'all see this? Yes, it's a Stitch mug. My wife brought it for me. Yeah, buddy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's some tea. You know what I'm saying? It's getting cold, so I got my ginger in here. I got my ginger in here. I got my I got ginger, I got lemon in here, and I got raw honey in here with my tea. Yes. So make sure you get your vitamin C in because that hawk gonna be out there. All right. So let me pull this up real quick, if I may. And what they're talking about doing. There's a lot of updates happening. If I do have it, I think I have it. Yes, I do. Okay, yeah, I do. Okay, so this is Yahoo Finance. If I may, if I may do this real quick here. Let's bring it up. So, share the screen. Usually, I already have my notes already ready. Bear with me, people. Bear with me. Okay. Okay. So, bring this up on the screen here. All right. So if you guys can see me, y'all can see me in the corner here. See me in the corner here. Let me just bring this up full screen like this. Take me away. So y'all don't need to see my sexy face all the time. It's very narcissistic of me if I was to do that, wouldn't it? Okay, so Netflix employees stage a trans solidarity walkout, polls list of demands. Netflix employees stage a walkout yesterday in response to the company handling of Dave Chappelle's special that premiered on October 5th. At the same time, Los Angeles based trans activist Ashley Marie Preston hosted a rally in solidarity with Netflix workers participating in the walkout. Netflix stars like Jonathan Van Ness of Queer Eye and Mason Alexander Park of Cowboy Bebop and The Sandman expressed their solidarity in a video made. Let me see, Mason Alexander Park, yeah, made for the rally, along other Hollywood stars and trans advocates like Angelica Ross, Jamila Jamel, Caitley Bornstein, Our Lady J, Sarah Ram, Ramirez. I'm sorry, I'm having a brain fart. Peppermint, Peppermint. Okay, all right, cool, go with it. And Colton Haynes. We value our trans colleagues and allies. Understand the deep hurt they've been caused with such respect decisions of any employee who choose to walk out and recognize we have much more work to do within Netflix and in our content. Netflix spokesperson said in a statement provided by TechCrunch, the exact turnout of the employees' walkout and solidarity rally are unclear, but there was enough hype around the event that Preston preemptively moved it to a location with more space. Hmm. We got all of this information, but we don't know how many people estimate. They didn't even give us an estimate of how many people showed up. So more space can be a place that hold a rally for 20 people and moved it to a place that hold 50 people. We don't know, but hey, the employees who participated in the walkout want Netflix to adopt measures to avoid future instances of platforming transphobia and hate speech. They wrote in a letter they want Netflix to address a list of demands in the category of content investment, employee uh, uh, relations, and safety and harm reduction. Okay, well, all right. When it comes to content, the group wants Netflix to increase its funding of trans and non binary talent, bring employee resource groups into conversations about potential harmful content, hire more trans and non-binary content executives, and revise internal procedures around commissioning and releasing sensitive works. In terms of employee relations and safety, they want Netflix to recruit trans people, especially BIPOC, for leadership roles, allow employees to remove themselves from previous promotional content like allyship and diversity videos. Hold on, you want diversity, but you want allow employees to remove themselves from previous promotional content like allyship, and diversity videos, and eliminate references and imagery of transphobic titles and talent in the workspace, like basically heterosexual people. For harm reduction, they want Netflix to acknowledge the company's harm in platform transphobic content and add a disclaimer before transphobic titles, boost promotion for trans affirming titles on the platform, and suggest trans affirming content along those flagged as anti trans. Anything that's heterosexual is now anti trans. Just remember that, because this is the message that they're sending. The demands does not include removing the controversial Dave Chappelle special from Netflix, which sparked a backlash from some employees and Netflix subscribers concerned with the company's platform transphobic speech. Now, this is the reason why it's very important to read things all the way through to understand the context of what they're talking about and what they're saying. Okay. Um, and this is very important. And the reason why this is very important, to say the least, is because it's okay if you want more funding, you want more awareness to educate people on your lifestyle. But now you're talking about, you want people to have the ability that if they're talking about broader diversity or another group of people that have been denigrated and it's not about you, you can excuse yourself. You can leave. You don't have to be at diversity training because your whole community is so diverse that you don't need diversity training or anything that doesn't have a trans person or non bi non-binary, gender specific person, if they don't have that person in the works, or if they do a historical piece, like it's getting out of hand, and it really is getting out of hand. And this is where I say this is where checks and balances come into place. A lot of times in society, we don't give that much, we don't care as much, and we care too much. And when Netflix said to their guns, these employees walked out, they protest what they're supposed to do. But if you read the list of demands, it's like kids having a attention tantrum and checking to see how much power they can wield and all this other stuff, right? Because a budget can only stretch but so far. You know what I'm saying? Like, we understand, but you are not 100% of the population. You are a minority of the population. Like I mean, there are other people. Yeah. Let me stop with that for a second. All right. So this is something that we need to take eye and watch on. I don't have a problem with that community, but they're getting out of hand with it. You know what I mean? Like, there's too much that's going on. Okay. Um, there was just a lady, but you don't hear they're up in the uproar about the Dave Chappelle thing, but no one's talking about the LGBTQ cop that killed her ex-lover's new lover in the house and attacked him. No one's talking about that. I have not heard the trans community even once talk about that, bring that. It was in the news and it's gone, right? But this is still in the news from October 6th, in which they bullied a person in their own communities, basically telling them to have an open mind, in which they want us to have an open mind. But hey, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes, man, people get drunk on power, but they need to figure it out. Right? All right. So, with that being said, so that's what's been happening, right? So we got Dave Chappelle with that's going on with Dave. That happened with Dave. Um, and we got a list of other things that happened. Let's talk about updates. Let's talk about updates. If y'all haven't heard, if y'all didn't remember, if y'all haven't heard, y'all didn't remember, there was a young man, and I'm pretty sure you did remember. There's a young man named Amon Arbery. Okay, we all know about what happened with Amon Arbery. It was caught on tape. It was graphic to say the least. It was a character of misjustice all the way around. So here we go. I'm going to share the screen here. We'll bring up this tab here, right? And the reason why I'm bringing it up, this like this whole millennial thing, because we're pretty much like in the voting seat. We're driving. We don't want to say that we're getting old, but we're getting old. So this all comes into play. So look at this. So this is let me see. Mistake made by county court could lead to mistrial in a Mon Arbery case. These are the gentlemen in question that hunted the young man down. The man right here that I have the cursor over, this man right here, he on the right here, he's the one that was videotaping the whole thing, and the two gentlemen that kind of look similar to each other, that's the father and son that gunned him down. So in this May 17th, 2020 photo, a recently painted mural of Arbery is on display in Brunswick, Georgia, where the 25-year-old man was shot and killed in February. It was painted by Miami artist Marvin Weeks. Okay, the Georgia County Court, where the three alleged murders of Ahmaud Arbery are on a trial, mistakenly exposed potential jurors to suppressed evidence, including the 25-year-old black jogger's mental health history, which the judge banned from the trial. See, they tried to make him like he was crazy, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, okay. If any of the potential jurors see the suppressed evidence, they could be tossed from the pool, from the jury pool. The evidence on the court website also included how many times defendants Greg and Travis McMichael used their firearms, as well as the Confederate flag vanity plate on the back of Travis McMichael's truck. We are aware of the website issue. The decision about that will be made by the judge. So they knew about it. So they know what they're doing. Like this is ridiculous. This is, remember, Ahmaud Arbery died before George Floyd. Remember that. This is an update. They could get a mistrial because of something that the court website did. Remember, these are ex-police officers. Remember the lady, the DA got held. She got charged with, I think, obstruction of justice for not. Uh, so now this right here, right? This right here is an update of what's going on. So I just want to make this known and make this apparent. We're just going through this real quick. For me, this is I mean, it says I don't know what it says for you guys, but this is Thursday, October 21st. Okay, this just came out. This is hot news off the press. Look over it, do what you will with it, so forth and so have you. What I'm going to do is I'm gonna paste this into the chat here, so you guys can check that out. Now we're going to do another update. We're going to do another update, guys. Okay. Okay. We're going to do another update. So we have another update. I don't like being the bearer of bad news, but here we go. We have another update here. Let's see. We have another update. Okay. Well, there was finally some justice served with the George Floyd murder trial, but justice, because we have a justice system, maybe flawed, but whether we want to agree to it or not, we would always let the person extend everything, all their legal rights, far as what they can do in the legal system, right? Okay, so Derek Chauvin, the officer in question, sent to jail for the murder of George Floyd. Derek Chauvin has hired a lawyer who sued to throw out the 2020 presidential election results. So this is Chauvin. This is when this is where he got the verdict. That's the look he had on his face. Okay, so the attorney Chauvin retained for his appeal filed a lawsuit seeking to overthrow the 2020 election. Attorney William Moorman filed his notice to represent Chauvin on Friday. Moorman and others at his firm faced bar complaints in Arizona over the lawsuit, which they later dropped. Now, You're probably asking yourself because I remember Chauvin was trying to file his appeal, and he said he didn't have enough money. And the state of Minnesota said they weren't going to provide him any legal representation or a public defender, I guess, because they already did that because he was a part of the police union and they went and got their lawyer, so that was, they provided him the best legal counsel he could have. So he was looking, I think he was going to represent himself, and then I guess he pulled it back, if I'm not mistaken. And so this guy volunteered. And the reason why this guy's volunteering is probably most likely for the publicity. For the publicity. Okay. So so that tells you exactly what type of demographic uh be they're going for, what type of customer base they're going for. Derek Chauvin has hired an attorney who was involved in filing a conspiracy theory laden lawsuit to throw out the 2020 presidential election results. Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer who has been sentenced to 22 and a half years in prison for the murder of George Floyd, initially claimed he didn't have the money to hire his own lawyer and asked the judge to appoint him a public defender for his appeal. The Minnesota Supreme Court denied his request. Attorney William Moorhan filed notice that the state Court of Appeals on Friday that he intends to represent Chauvin, who is arguing that his conviction should be overturned on 14 grounds. Moorhan is a partner with the Minneapolis-based firm Moorman, Corrado, and Erickson, which has been involved in a case that challenged President Joe Biden's 2020 election win. The lawsuit, which the firm ultimately withdrew, claimed that a shadow government run by Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg funded and rigged the election. According to the Arizona Republic, Mormon was among attorneys involved who faced complaints with the Arizona State Bar related to the lawsuit, but those complaints were dropped when the lawyers dismissed the litigation. Yeah. Hey, I'm like, he's free to use all legal avenues he possibly can in his appeal process. So this is going to go on for a while, but these are the updates. Remember, George Floyd passed away after Ahmaud Arbery, after Breonna Taylor. And this police officer, remember with Ahmaud Arbery, those one was a retired police officer, one was a private citizen. So what you saw on tape, that should have been a no-brainer, right? We understand about the blue wall and the blue tape and stuff like that, right? But yeah, sad, isn't it? But he's allowed to do it. Like it's not like we're talking about things that we got to be real about these things. These are in our legal system and so forth. So let me look down here in the chat. What's going on, Deke? You're Jay Sean. What's going on, family? What's going on with you? Let's see who else popped up in here. We got says Brad Davis. Oh, we got my buddy Classic Ruby. What's going on? How you doing? Let the force of petty be with you. Let's see who else we got in here. Let's see who's that. Darkman Jeff, what's going on, family? What's going on? Salute to you, brother. Hope all is well with you and yours. And my lovely sister Vaughn is showing up. How you doing? How's everything? Hope no Kerns and Brads were messing with you. You're almost at there at the end of the work week. You're almost there one more day, and you're going to overcome. You know what I'm saying? Until Monday. All right. So now I'm going to get into the meat and potatoes of this. I wanted to bring this up because there's been these conversations steadily about uh, birth control and single motherhood and what affects the United States of America. All of these babies running around and all of this extra crap that you hear people spewing, um, and that's not even facts. Especially because we are now in control, supposedly in control of the economy, because now the boomers are phasing out. It's the Xers and it's the millennials. It's the Gen Xers and the millennials. Okay, so the millennials, 40, 33 to 40. Okay, so we are in control right now of, we should be in government, we should be in our policies and politics. The Gen Xers should be in office or policies and politics. Um, so what's going on? And I've explained to you what exactly is going on, and we're going to have to dig deep into this right now. So Forbes, I want to bring this up because, and I'm gonna say this, and I was having this conversation with Cerulean, and he said this, and it really hit home. He was talking about how millennials are probably the most responsible generation, and I was like, "What do you mean?" And I was reading off the stuff, and he made some sense. But let's go through it, and let's see if you agree. Um, what he has to say, because it was a good point that he made. So let me pull this up. Hold on, I already got it pulled up. Sorry, y'all. All right. So let me pull this up. Okay. And what I wanted to pull up is that, trying to debunk this misnomer, right? And I'm gonna speak about this uh in 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 a way that we're covering all women, right? We're covering women. We're not just covering one type of female, we're covering all women. So, new study, new study, and this was of May 1st, 2020. Now, remember what was raging on May 1st, 2020. So, okay, so this is more than a year ago. Millennial women are delaying having children due to their careers. I will put this link actually in the chat here so you can read it at your own discretion. Don't, what I mean, and take from it what you will, but I'm not going to read all of it. What I wanted to basically focus on is the reason why um, young women are not having children and they're delaying having children. We all know what it really is, but let the people, the money people, Forbes magazine, let Forbes tell you. When are you going to have kids? Most young women are not prepared for that moment where family members, friends, and colleagues begin to bombard them with this question. They're asking the women. The pressure to start a family is overwhelming, and for many millennial women who have spent the last decade focused on building their career in the wake of the 2008 recession, this is a complex question to answer. It is easy to want a stellar career and an established lifestyle and to start a family, but when the clock is ticking, the pressure builds. How do you manage it? For majority of young women, the answer has been to delay having children. The average age of first time mothers in America is now up from 21 to 26, while for fathers, it is increased from 27 to 31. Now, we're talking about on average first time fathers. That means, according to the census, and first time mothers, all mothers in America, all fathers in America, we take the average. We know arithmetic. If we've went to school and we did math, we know what averages are. So we take the average. And the average goes from pre the recession from 21 till now, after the 2008 recession until now, that is a 5 year jump. 21 to 26. While for fathers, it is increased from 27 to 31. This isn't just within America. Women in other developing countries are waiting too, with the average first birth happening for new mothers at the age of 31. So even America is actually 5 years on the woman's side younger than other countries outside of America. It begs the question, why is this happening now? And is there anything that we should be doing about it? Excuse me. Earlier this year, the online personal finance company SoFi and reproductive health company Modern Fertility partnered together to survey thousands of women about why they were waiting to have children. The number one leading reason was money. Well, that hypergamy thing, right? Money. Of course, you can't, you need money. So a recession, you're not, if you have the option of not bringing a child into the world and you have to worry about making sure you're fine and you're straight, then whatever, right? If the women nest in the environment, so if the environment isn't good for nesting, the woman's not going to nest there. Like it's not hard. This is not like rocket science. The number one leading reason was money, with 60% of the participants reporting that they are delaying childbearing due to not having enough money. 51% reporting that they want to earn a higher salary first. Having children is not cheap. To begin, the average cost of vaginal delivery in the US with health insurance is 4,300. A cesarean birth, which accounts for 21% of births today, costs around 5,100. Without insurance, the bill for childbirth is easily $10,000. When you consider the average millennial only has 5,000 in their savings account, they would be depleted of additional finances after leaving the hospital on day one of motherhood. According to the USDA, which tracks the price tag for raising a kid, the average family will spend over 13,000 annually per kid. This is over a $250,000 per child by the time they're 18. This doesn't even take into account the college tuition or the additional fees beyond the basic needs. For a generation drowning in student loan debt and rebounding from a recession, adding this price tag to their budget isn't something most are willing or able to take on just yet. Health implications: the COVID 19 pandemic has taught us a lot, bringing light yet to another reason why people are tentative about having children. The health of the health of the future child is widely concerning topic. The SoFi and Modern Fertility Survey found that in the midst of a pandemic, 46% of the respondents report a greater sense of fear around having access to parental care. The health crisis has sparked the majority, 61% of respondents, to hold fear and anxiety around the ability to have children and plan a family in general. See this right here? They even talk about the Zika virus. Remember that? That was pre the Summer Olympics for in Brazil. After the Zika virus put pregnant women in heightened risk for transmitting the virus to her fetus, the widespread growth of COVID 19 is one health concern many for women over the age of 35, geriatric pregnancy, the rate of miscarriage, Down syndrome, and other chromosomal birth defects rises. Pregnancy in your 40s accounts for a 33% chance of miscarriage, while gestational diabetes and preeclampsia become more prevalent. All of these concerns come with a major physical, emotional, and mental strain for the mother, the child, the family as a whole. If you're talking about postpartum, you hear that a lot now. You didn't hear it as much, but you hear that term a lot now. If I'm looking through, there's articles all over the place. It doesn't matter what culture, color, creed, race, it doesn't matter. You hear this term over and over again about postpartum, 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 because women are having children later on in life. Not to say that postpartum doesn't affect women all over the place, any age range, but it really affects women older uh, when they have children later. Okay, so here's another one, right? I'm gonna bring this one up. Okay, So the reality is, and this is right here, career and life goals. But I'm gonna stop after this one. The reality is that this isn't a bad idea, according to Princeton study. The gender wage gap is largely due to childbirth. After women have children, their earning potential drops 20% less than their male counterparts. Over the course of their career, for each child a mother has, their earning power drops 4%. So if you have a kid and you have three children, the first kid is going to drop it to 20. Each kid after that is going to drop it by four. So you can see a 28% drop in your salary. While the opposite appears to be true for men who actually see an income raised by 6%. That's right. If you notice, a lot of people, a lot of men that are in middle management positions are in those positions because they either are married, divorced, or they have children. Because children make men more responsible. They're least likely to run off or just quit the job because they just got to worry about themselves or run around the house and not have a shirt on while they're on a video or live stream. This was for you, Ruby. This was for you. Okay, so if you wait longer in your career, your salary will have likely increased to support in managing compensation dip. Along with pay struggle for newfound mothers, they face a lack of trust and value in the workplace. Yes, because you got to go on maternity leave and then you can't just drop the baby and come back. It's going to take you about 6 months to get your body right, let it heal up. You have to literally find somebody to watch this newborn baby. You got to most women don't come back usually after childbirth, almost about, I think, maybe 6 to 8 months. If they come back in the workplace, and then they have to readjust it because money still have to be made in the company. So we, so, along with the pay struggle, newfound mothers, in a landmark study, researchers revealed that the job applicants that didn't reference children were twice as likely to get called in for an interview. Getting back into the workforce after taking maternity leave or a few years off to raise children is difficult to overcome. These are all the reasons that have led young women and couples to reconsider traditional family plans. If one of these reasons or all three feels close to home, know that there are steps you can take. And it goes into it, where you can reach out to people you can talk to and so forth. So I dropped the link to this in the description box, in the chat, so y'all can check that out. So y'all can check that out yourselves. Now, why am I talking about this? Now, have you noticed that they've been running around talking about repealing abortion laws? And there's two reasons why they're doing this. Okay. One, the birth rate is dropping. Men and women are not having kids because they don't want to be on the hook. They don't want to be on the hook. Now, we have this misconception that we're told that um, we've been told that men just wasn't doing the thing and blah 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 blah, right? And we have to remember something is that there was some wars going on. There was a lot of things going on at this time pre us. There was a lot of things going on pre us. And when I mean millennials, I mean myself. I was born in '81, so I wasn't. You're a child. You ain't thinking about that, right? And even if you're an Xer, you weren't thinking about that. So this was more a boomer generation problem. We were going through the motions. We were playing outside, having a good time, or trying to do what we could because the world, we weren't in control of the horizontal and vertical of nothing. Okay, so it was the other people. So I'm gonna bring up this publication now. I'm gonna touch on child support. Now you're probably going to ask me, why am I touching on child support? Well, this goes hand in hand. So we understand what the millennials are doing. Let's talk about what were the boomers doing. What was going on with the boomers, right? Because the boomers gave way to the Xers and the millennials, depending on when they had kids, right? Because a lot of times, the boomers crossed over into they were having kids further, right? My mom was 25 when she had me. My dad was when she had me, my dad was 10 years older than he was 35. So this is 81. So you do the math, you know? You do the math. Smartest guy in the world, but hey, let's go with it. So, evolution of child support policy. Now, you notice how it says policy, right? So, so this is I'm gonna put this in the chat here. Y'all can look at it. So, and this is the reason I'm trying to clear up some of these misnomers. Now, if there's some people that's smarter than me, um, that want to dive deep in it, that want to challenge what I'm saying or what I'm bringing forth. This isn't an argument. This is not really up for debate, but I would like to hear your side and what you bring to the table. And if you want to do a response video, go right ahead. I have no problem with it. But let's have the conversation and let's be let's have some decency about it, shall we? For reasons not entirely understood, a change in marital behavior has been occurring in the United States and in the rest of the industrialized world though at the lower levels. In the past half century, permanent marriage is on the wane. Whites marry and increasingly divorce. Blacks are increasingly likely never to marry at all. You already know where this is slighted at, but let's continue. The result has been an explosion in the number of single parent families by 1983. The result has been an explosion in the number of single parent families by 1983. Hmm. This is okay. By So 7.2 billion families with children were hidden by women. By 1984, one out of five children and over half of black children lived in a home in which no father was present. Most of these families have found it themselves economically insecure. About half of the groups is in poverty. Their hardship is due in part to the failure of absent parents to was it, adequately support, because I'm looking at this thing, adequately support their children, in part to a relatively low earning power of single mothers, and in part to the level of welfare benefits after a near tripling between 1955 and 1975. Benefits declined by over one quarter between 1975 and 1985. Well, wow, look at that. Look at those dates right here. Welfare after tripling between 1955 and 1975. So the government cut back welfare benefits, even though they saw an uptick in poverty. Well, what was going on? This was Reconstruction, 1955 and 1975, right? You had Vietnam War in there also. You have this after the Korean War, after World War II, after the Korean War. Then you got the Black Southern migration. You got factories, the industrialization, the automotive boom, exports made in the USA. All of this is happening. This leads back to economics. Always leads to economics. Benefits declined by one quarter. So basically, they tripled it and then they took the benefits down to one quarter between 1975 and 1985. The public alarm over family breakup has grown with the rise in the welfare rolls. Aid to families with dependent children, AFDC, formerly ADC, for aid to dependent children, was enacted as part of the Social Security Act of 1935 to provide for the needs of poor fatherless children, most of those whose fathers had died. It was expected that the survivors' insurance to be enacted in 1939 would support children whose fathers had a work history, and in the interim, until all the families were covered by this insurance, AFDC would fill the gap. So Social Security was actually meant for children. Social Security was meant for children. And since the 1930s, however, the caseload has changed dramatically. Now, the vast majority of the cases, close to 90%, are on welfare because the fathers are absent from the home, divorced from, separated from, or never married to the mothers of their children. Parenthood induced by social welfare benefits may actually improve the well being of children. Welfare also sustains some long term dependency and is associated with some intergenerational dependency. Yet, most of those who ever receive welfare do so far less than 4 years. And the overwhelming majority of children who grow up in families heavily dependent on welfare do not themselves become heavily dependent. The research notwithstanding, it is safe to summarize public perceptions of welfare as demoralizing, expensive, inadequate, and necessary. This is why it is often described as the welfare mess. Now remember, this wasn't directed at no particular color, race, or creed. It was a gender, but it was about the children. And if the majority of America was white, then who's on welfare the most? So we will say it again. The welfare system was built around who? Provided for by who? To support who? The government response has been blatantly to foster the traditional means of support for children. Contributions for both parents, private child support is moving from individual, determinations in the courtroom to a rational, rationalization, associated with taxation and social insurance. At the same time, the welfare system is changing. No longer are government benefits expected to substitute for parental earnings. Rather, they are coming to be viewed as supplement to the earnings of both parents. No longer are the government benefits expected to substitute for parental earnings. Rather, they are coming to be viewed as supplement to the earnings of both parents. That means government assistance drop down for the money that you can get for the kid. And what this passage is saying is that they push the law. That's why they forced women had to go to work. The women had to go to work. They cut back welfare, so they made it so that women could work. So I'm trying to show you where this started from and where we ended up now. And it basically said just because a child is on welfare does not mean that the child is dependent on welfare. That means it's the parents that are dependent on welfare because the child knows nothing about welfare itself. They're children. They don't know about all of that. See how that rationale is? It just debunked a whole bunch of arguments that people wanted to bring forth. Changes in private child support. The private child support system, whereby as an absent parent contributes to the maintenance of his children, has been implemented through the judicial branch. The court determines the amount of child support to be paid by the non-custodial parent on an individual basis. This is before. And the non-custodial parent pays the support directly to the parent caring for the children. Remember, they gave the money directly to the mother. The courts, they Basically, you paid directly. The courts didn't get involved past that. This is before. When the number of broken marriages and paternity cases was small, greater equity was perhaps achieved by this individualized system in a small communities. The judge knew the parents and their circumstances, so the judge was better served by taking in accounts of all particulars. But when the number of cases is large and the system is impersonal, this method breaks down. In practice, judges now do very little to tailor the child support to particular circumstances. Other aspects of the system are problematic. First, only 61% of mothers eligible for child support have awards. The proportion with an award varies dramatically with the marital status of the mother. Whereas 8 out of 10 divorced mothers receive child support orders, less than half of separated mothers and less than 1 in 5 of never married mothers have orders. The private system is also very expensive in time and cost to the parents, and in delays for the children needing support, and in case by case determination treats equals equally data from Wisconsin. That's where the modern day child support system actually comes from Madison, Wisconsin. We'll get to that in a second. Data for Wisconsin, for example, indicate that child support awards range from 0 to over 100% of the non-custodial father's income. The system is also regressive. Child child support orders either through the judicial system or in an administrative agency to increase the number of awards to never married mothers. States are required to extend the period during which paternity action can be initiated to any time up to the child's 18th birthday. That's where you get up to the 18. Before it wasn't like that. It depended on what state where you was at. Sometimes it ended at 16, depending on the age of consent or what you consider a grown person. You know what I'm saying? All states are required to establish child support guidelines to enable judges and others determining the size of the awards to set equitable and adequate support payments. Though these guidelines are not binding on the judiciary to enhance collections, the 1984 amendments provide fiscal incentives for states to monitor payments in all cases. Think about it, fiscal incentives for states to monitor payments in all cases. Moreover, the amendments require the states to adopt automatic income withholding for child support to take effect after 1 month of delinquency. There's your policy right there. The policy was set forth by the federal government. The states wasn't really going it, but when they incentivized them to make money off of it, guess what happens? And this happens in 1984. Public child support is a significant feature of the child support system, and public transfers substantially exceeded private child support transfers, whereas slightly over 7 billion in private child support was paid in 1985, whereas slightly over 7 billion in private child support was paid in 1985. Now that we run the inflation calculator, what are we talking about? This is $7 billion. So if we run the inflation calculator from 1985 up until now, we talk about almost half a 100 billion right there. AFDC expenditures on families potential eligible for child support were equal to no less than 8 billion. If the cost of food stamps, 5 billion, housing assistance, 3 billion, and Medicaid, 8 billion are included, the public transfers equal nearly to 24 billion, or more than 3 times the private transfers. So when people were doing private transfers and they were working it out through the court legal system on their own without the state involved, it cost the state money. As mentioned above, dissatisfaction with the AFDC has grown along with the cost of caseloads. On a number of occasions, regulations have been changed in an effort to reduce the welfare population. The first government program explicit to aid AFDC mothers in finding employment was the Work Incentive Program, WIN, established in 1967. WIN required all non exempt persons age 16 or older who applied for or received AFDC to register for work and training. The program was supposed to assess job skills and provide training and employment placement, but has furnished little assistance of this nature. It has not had much impact on either work or caseloads. In 1981, the Reagan administration sought to cut out benefits to recipients with substantial earnings and to require those who receive benefits to work for them. Reaganomics. So basically, there were people that were on welfare that were making a whole bunch of money. Huh, imagine that. And those who received benefits to work for them. So you had to have a job to get welfare, but it was still up to the states' rights thing, right? Congress agreed much, but not all, of this strategy. And by 1987, almost every major welfare reform proposal contained both work requirements and the provisions of services such as training and daycare to facilitate work. As structured, nevertheless, the AFDC encourages welfare dependency after 4 months on the job. A woman on AFDC faces a reduction in benefits of $1 for every dollar of net earnings. It is not surprising, therefore, that the majority of mothers on welfare do not work. Even if they are fully employed, however, one half of a welfare mother could earn no more than the amount of their annual welfare grant. It's called a grant now. And other quarter would could only earn only up to about 3,200 more. How many more could not earn enough to cover the cost of their Medicaid benefits has not been established, but surely the numbers are large. Finally arrived a fixed dollar child support orders rather than being expressed in percentage terms. Immediate withholding was piloted in 10 counties in 1984 and also became operational statewide in July 1987. The assured benefit is scheduled to hold on, let me see. Finally, hold on. Finally, hold on. Let me see if I'm reading this right. 'Cause I'm just going down the page. Hold on. Finally, oh, estimates. I'm just going down the page. Y'all, I'm reading this wrong. Finally, this estimate takes no account of the necessity of some of the mothers to work less than full time. Full year, this evidence suggested that the transfers necessary provided adequate standing. So I'm gonna touch on this Wisconsin plan, right? Under the child support assurance system, all parents living apart from their children are obligated to share their income with their children. The sharing rate is specified in an administrative code, and exceptional cases aside depends only upon the number of children owed support. In Wisconsin, this rate is equal to 17% of the non custodial parent's gross income for one child and 25, 29, and 31 and 34% respectively for two, three, four, and five or more children. The obligation is collected through payroll withholdings, garnishing your check, taking child support out your check, in cases where that is possible. As the Social Security and income taxes, in other words, child support is akin to proportionally tax on a non custodial parent. So it's a tax on the non custodial parent. So basically, it's a tax on non custodial parents. So if you don't have custody of your child, then guess what? You're going to get hit with this is 17%, depending on the state. It can range differently. So if you have joint custody of your kids and you start seeing people the Xers, late boomers, Xers, and millennials, you start seeing men or women, or they start working out having joint custody. Having joint custody means that you share financial burden of the kid, and then there's no child support need to be put in play. If someone has 100% custody, guess what? Yeah, visitation is a whole different subject. Child support is akin to proportionally tax on a non-custodial parent. Children with a legal, liable, non-custodial parent are entitled to benefits equal to either the child support paid by the non-custodial parent or a socially assured minimum benefit, which is higher. Sh- Should the non custodial parent pay less than the assured benefit, the difference is paid by the state. The extra costs of the assured benefit are financed from the AFDC savings that result from the increased child support collections and from a small surtax upon up to the amount of the subsidy. Sorry, subsidy, which is paid by custodial parent, which is paid by the custodial parent who receive a public subsidy. Finally, in order to make work even more attractive, one other provision has been added to the Wisconsin plan. Low income custodial parents are compensated for work expenses such as child care at the rate of $1 per hour work for one child and $1.75 for two or more children. The state of Wisconsin, following the recommendation of the Institute Research of Poverty 1982 study report, Child Support Weakness of the Old and Features of a Proposed New System. Now, last time I checked, ain't that many black folk in Wisconsin. So, and the reason I bring this up is that, and this is the reason why I bring this up. It is a big reason why I bring this up. So that means that in Wisconsin, there was a lot of dereliction going on the men's side, but not the men in society, but the men in power. Because if people don't have jobs, they can't provide for their families. If they don't have finances, they can't provide for their families. You see what does this not make sense? Does this not make sense? Hold on one second. So, does this not make sense? So, okay. So, and the reason why I wanted to go through that history lesson about where they got the how the child support system started, and they took what they do in Wisconsin because it was more direct. It was that it was up to the judge before. It was actually way worse back then, or depending on if you had a relationship with the judge, the mother didn't get nothing. And it was really child support was originally made for divorced mothers, separated divorced mothers. Really, if you weren't married, you weren't really getting nothing. So so what does that do? That does not incentivize marriage, right? And men are going to be men. So guess what they're going to do? That's why Papa was a Rolling Stone. Like he everywhere he, laid his hat. He had a home. That's why you had these men running around. They got a wife, but then they got a mistress across town, and they got kids over here, kids over there, and they ain't got to take care of these kids because guess what? The only way she could get child support if she was married to him. And then they changed that up because then you had a rise in all of this. Remember, then you had guys coming back from Vietnam. You had a low. You didn't have a lot of males around because they were sitting in Vietnam, but when they came back, they were pretty messed up and broken and stuff like that. So the guys that were left on, guess what? You got a major influx of women in. Bam. their election. They let it run off the rails, and then you get this great boom, right? You know what I'm saying? You get this great boom of children and kids. So once again, the millennials see this happen, growing up with this, seeing what was happening with the Xers, with the boomers, and all of this other stuff. We start to come up. We was like, nah, bro, we ain't had no kids. We ain't got no money, no jobs. Y'all done cut back benefits and all of that. You want us to have kids and no support, no nothing, cut back benefits. So we ain't having them. The women said, nah, we ain't having them. That don't mean people ain't still engaging in sex and stuff, you know what I'm saying? That's happening, but it's just that you have birth control, you have abortion, um, you know what I mean? Can't put people in debt and expect them. And then you got a 20-year conflict or the war on terrorism or whatever like that. So hey, there's a lot of stuff going down. Now I'm going to go touch. Now I'm gonna bring this back up again. Okay, so here's another one to drive it home. Drive it home, right? Okay, and this is CNBC. So we're going to bring it forward. We're going to jump out the past and bring it forward because sometimes you gotta you gotta jump in the past to bring it forward to show you what's actually going on and transpiring. Older millennials have lived through two economic crises, and it's affecting their decision around having kids. Middle-aged millennials, right? And remember, this is affecting millennials. This is not a black or white or whatever issue. That there's some nuances in there with these issues, but this is I'm talking about. This is over. This is everybody. If you know what I mean, this is the Western world and everything like that. As millennials begin to turn 40 in 2021, CNBC Make It has launched a middle-aged millennials, a series exploring how the oldest members of this generation have grown into adulthood amid the backdrop of the Great Recession, the COVID-19 pandemic, student loans. You keep seeing the student loans thing, right? The student loan thing keep popping up because this is a problem. That's why the first thing Biden did was start forgiving student loan debt. Student loans, stagnant wages, and a rising cost of living. The COVID-19 pandemic has made the outlook for older millennials starting to expand their families even more uncertain. About a quarter of older millennials say they decided to wait longer to have children because the pandemic, according to a recent conducted by the Harris poll on behalf of CNBC Make It. The survey has made up of 1,000 U.S. adults ages 33 to 40. Some are avoiding having children altogether. About 19% of the older millennials say they have decided not to have a child or additional children at this time because of the pandemic, according to the Harris survey. Among those who find they want children less following the pandemic, the most common reason is that they don't want to bring a child into a world right now, followed by uncertainty about the economy. But many in this cohort of millennials already waited until their 30s to seriously start thinking about having children, thanks in part to the student loan debt and the Great Recession impact on the job market. Now, the pandemic is making it even difficult for the older millennials to start to grow their families. These are the numbers. Decided to wait longer to have children, 25%. Um, decided to have a child, decided not to have a child or additional children, 19%. Okay. Decided to try to get pregnant during the pandemic, 5%. Unexpectedly got pregnant during the pandemic, 3%. The pandemic has not altered my plan to have children, 48%. That means whether they were going to have children or not, they ain't altering nothing. And this right here, the pandemic, the Rona babies didn't even happen. Nah, didn't even happen. In many cases, that's because the global health and economic crisis had led to limited access to health care, raised concerns about the risk of pregnancy, increased stress, and created mental and emotional barriers that have made starting families difficult. For millennials who are already between the ages of 33 and 40, the additional waiting could lead to more challenges to plans to start or expand their families. The older women get, the harder it is to conceive and carry to term without medical intervention, according to American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. For women having kids in their 30s, that means it can take longer to conceive or involve more risk. By 40, the age the oldest millennial turns this year, women have less than a 5% chance of getting pregnant each month. Even at the age of 35, most women have just 15 to 20% chance of getting pregnant each month. The lower likelihood of getting pregnant could lead some older millennials to spend more on fertility treatments and even adoptions and surrogacy if the traditional methods fail. Older millennials are experiencing a double whammy when it comes to having kids. While it's too early to tell the impact the pandemic have on birth rates specifically among older millennials, data indicates Americans typically have fewer children during and immediate after economic downturns, says Philip Levine, an economics professor at Wesley College who has studied birth rates. Older millennials, for instance, were in their early and mid 20s during the peak childbearing years when the 2008 financial crisis and the subsequent Great Recession hit. Prior to that economic crisis, older millennials were having kids at roughly the same rate as previous generations. But Levine says that the number fell dramatically afterwards. The Great Recession really hit them at an inopportune moment in their lives. Now the coronavirus pandemic is spurring a baby bust for the American families, with the Brookings Institute's research estimated that the number of births in the U.S. will fall by at least 300,000 this year. Many people's initial instinct was to think that this was going to end up with more babies because there is nothing else to do. It turns out that having children is a bit more complicated than that, says Levine, who co-authored Booker's report. Now, but Ravine says older millennials have been hit with a double whammy since the experience of two economic crises during their childbearing years. This means they're more likely that this cohort won't have as many children as the previous generations, he said. And it goes into it, right? These will go into like little stories and stuff like this. Now, why do you think they knew that millennials would have it? This was having, you know what I'm saying? They knew that this was happening the whole time, right? For a while. Okay. So, you know what I mean? Like you can read the article, go into it, but those stay-in orders during the pandemic, it was Netflix and chill and all of that. Women was still popping birth control. They still wasn't trying to have no kids because the uncertainty of a lot of stuff, right? So let me see what we got now. That was CNBC. Okay. Okay. And all right. Okay, so what is the U.S. doing about this, right? What are most countries doing about it? When your citizens are not trying to have children and you're not really expending any resources, but you have trillions of dollars in foreign policy and things like that. Oh, we just pulled out of Afghanistan, and there are a lot of people um, that are coming over as refugees, but it wasn't really about getting the families out or the people that allied to keep the Americans, our troops safe while they were doing the business of keeping the country safe or whatever else they were doing while they were over there. It was to get the women out because the Taliban was going to revert them back to like the back to cave days, right? Smack somebody over the head, drag them by their head through the streets, throw acid on their face, all the other stuff. So what are they going to do about this? Well, they're going to start bringing people in, right? Immigration. This is how you get your economy back up and get your baby boom back up, right? Immigration. So let me show you how. Y'all gonna love this. Now, I'm not I don't feel any way about it either way, but you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I don't feel about it either way, but I'm in my time machine right now. Hold on, let me look at the chat right here. Let me pull it up. Let's see. Gen Alpha will be the smallest birth cohort in human history. I believe so. Let's see else what he says. Love economics, finance website. Not having children or getting married. Hey, what's up, Gino? What's going on, man? Let's see. Let's see. The bedroom shuffle hasn't slowed down. Sure has it. Sure has it. You said something up here. That's why these YouTube beefs and gender war means nothing at the end of the day. These are facts. Going to be shutting that down pretty soon. Let's see. Oh yeah. Good evening, Supreme Elder. How you been? How you been? You know what I'm saying? Uh, all right. So let's get into this. Let's get into this real quick right here. Okay. Too few babies and immigrants threaten American growth. Our, our prosperity and national security depend on having more working age Americans. Americans are having too few babies and not admitting enough immigrants to sustain the prosperity of national security. National security means finances and economics. That's what you're talking about. Because you can't run an army on empty stomachs, right? You can't have men fight on empty stomachs. I mean, you got to pay them. And we have a volunteer military. The U.S. lifetime birth rate per woman has fallen to 1.71, down from 2.12 in 2007. You notice this is pre-recession 2008, right? You see these numbers, these things are keep churning, and well below what is necessary to sustain the national population without substantial net immigration. Well below what is necessary to sustain the national population without substantial net immigration. Why don't you hear about you don't hear like you see the Democrats pushing back on the immigration and illegals and all of this other stuff, right? Because they want the children. They want the immigrants to come over, have the children. Remember the law. Long as a child, anchor baby, long as you have a child on American soil, that child is American. But they can send the kids back. They tried this multiple times. So pay attention. An annual population and labor force growth rate has fallen to about 0.5%, and the Trump administration has pushed down net immigration by more than 40% since 2016. Now, the coronavirus, recession, and a halt recovery could push down the birth rate further. Reluctance to accept immigrants from places where the pandemic is not under control could take population and labor force growth rates down even further, perhaps below zero. So we're like, it's like there's no growth rate. It's like at zero. So if it goes below zero, then it becomes negative. In 2018, the Social Security Administration began paying more benefits than it received in payroll tax. And the pension fund is expected to run out by 2035, the Medicare fund much sooner. I know Charles up there, I said that word pension. So pension, I'm going to zoom in right here. Okay. The ratio of working age Americans to seniors have fallen from 5 in early the 1980s to 3.6 this year. It will likely be below 3 when the well runs dry after the Social Security Administration is on a pay as you go basis. Americans will have to pay dramatically higher payroll taxes or benefits will be radically cut. The ability of working age population to keep up is determined by the pace of the economic growth. However, thanks to the slower productivity and population growth, potential economic growth has fallen to about 2%, and from 3.5% prior to the financial crisis. Challenges from Russia and China, plus instability in the Middle East and North Africa that will grow as the petroleum age phases down, have stretched the U.S. military, especially the Navy, to the limit. We are already spending 3.3% of the GDP on defense, and the Europeans and the Japanese won't or can't do much more. 2% growth won't permit the resources needed to counter Russia's and China's modernization military and their inclination to make mischief in places like Latin America. Now, here's another thing. Russia, which y'all don't know, Russia and China just did military movements between the Strait of Japan, between Hokkaido and the main island of Japan. This was in international news. Immigration is a hot button issue through the industrialized world. Sorry, that that that's why populist movements are gaining so much momentum in Europe. Brexit happened, and President Donald Trump was elected. However, most of the voter angst is concentrated in blue collar communities bearing job losses from automation. There you go. And tougher international competition. Well educated immigrants tend to settle in fast growing coastal cities and university supported technology centers where they pose fewer perceived threats. Immigration policy must shift from extended family reunification and a lottery to one of that places more emphasis on highly skilled workers. Still, we need to reverse the declining birth rate. Liberals would like lots of federally funded family friendly programs, guaranteed pre K, paid family leave, and the like. Europe has done all those, and its fertility rates are no better than ours. Germany, France, Italy, and the UK average 1.7 per woman. Family allowances, annual payment for each child, which Germany generously offers, is up to the age of 25, have been tried abroad. Those look like guaranteed annual income advocates by liberals. Direct incentives could be appealing to conservatives too. Basically, this is welfare. Just talked about how welfare was brought into play before, and then we're talking about welfare world. Okay, so however, Vox identified 11 European countries with baby bounties. Comparing those to national fertility rates indicates little significant impact on birth rates. Women with university educations marry and have first babies much later and fewer children. Having a second or third child appears to be not nearly as attractive as putting more energy into a career, enjoying more independence from male breadwinner. To be clear, this is a lifestyle choice, and the capacity of American men to support families on a single income has not significantly eroded despite the wailings of liberals seeking more social programs and higher taxes, and conservatives wishing to roll back the welfare state and reduce taxes, and by uh, derivation, I can't pronounce the word. I'm sorry. The same applies to educated women with a partner at the home to tend more children. What really must change is the women again see satisfaction in having more than two children, as some will always have fewer owing owning to premature death, unreasonable personal issues, or infertility. Peddling the idea that three children and a family arrangement should be altered in more traditional or a progressive gender neutral direction is social dynamite no politician wants to touch, but our society needs more babies to thrive. This is Market Watch. You know what I'm saying? So this is Market Watch. Check that out. You feel what I'm saying? So we talk about so once again, so now we're going to talk about one more thing. And we're going to bring it home, right? Because I know this is a lot of information to digest, and you're probably asking me like, why am I talking about this? Like, why am I bringing this up? Was it because people talk about gender politics in the space all the time and stuff like that? The reason why I bring it up is it's cuffing season. Excuse me, it's cuffing season, and the reason I bring that up is because there's a baby shortage. That doesn't mean people ain't getting cuffed. Is that people are not having children. People are not getting pregnant like you think they are. There's not a lot of people running around getting pregnant, and the people that you see pregnant, if you look at the media, they keep pushing out this thing about this person's pregnant, that person's pregnant. Um, the like if you look at Kylie Jenner, right? Okay, she's a billionaire, but she's a single mama. She's a single mama billionaire, right? Like I was reading the one with Gabrielle Union is married to Dwayne Wade. She wasn't trying to have any kids, right? But she was having problems having kids because she done had so many miscarriages when she was married. And she had this whole opt-in about what's going on, and then bam, right? And then they break up, and Dwayne Wade goes and have a kid with another chick, and that hurt her feelings, and she had to have a surrogacy because she waited so long to have a kid or whatever was going on. Abortions. The more abortions a woman have, it cuts down. Like if you already got an infertile, if you already got well, if you already have a problem being with fertility problems, abortion doesn't help. So how many abortions you have cut down your rate of having a child. So that's why they're repealing abortion laws. They're literally trying to turn back the clock and basically put everything in the box. If you start seeing these things in these conservative states or these so-called Bible Belt states or these evangelical states, they're peeling a lot of these things back. The defunding of Planned Parenthood was the first strike, where contraceptives, birth control, you're talking about contraceptive birth control, same thing, but you're talking about birth control, contraceptives, you're talking about education, help with abortion, if you don't have the money for getting certain programs and stuff like that. And this mainly affects the dominant society's population of women. We know who those are, so we're not going to even point that out to that play, right? And even with that being said, is that people um I mean, people don't understand how this plays. Then in the other spectrum of the thing is that an economic downturn. Men can't go to work. Women are not making enough money because the economy. You need a two-parent household with making like the average family makes about in America about $38,000 to $42,000 a year. Then if you break that down into white households, you're talking about $50,000 a year. Black households, you're talking about 40 something. And you have Latinos and so forth and so forth. And I think the Asians is kind of up there a little bit below the white households. But if you're talking about in general, the average family brings in with two people working, they bring in about $4,000 a month. Uh, uh, they bring in about four, almost $5,000 a month. But then you're talking about insurance, childcare. Uh, you talk about you need two cars. You live in the average house is $200,000 a year. I start seeing the Z's and the alphas, they're actually checking out of the game. They're talking about tiny homes and people are selling their homes off and getting smaller pieces of property and living off the land and all of this other stuff. So what's basically happening is that the environment of the economy and the policies does not promote marriage, does not incentivize it, does not incentivize people having babies. Does not. Absolutely does not. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Like it does it, and we can sit up here and have these conversations all day about who's messing with who's messing with what, and this, that, and the third. Right now, we're going to look at this next one where this is a Miami Herald opinion piece, and then after we read this one, the opinion piece, and I think I have one more. I think, but let me wrap this up. So this is the Miami Herald opinion piece, and it basically says Fox News won't tell you that there is no immigrant immigration crisis. In fact, the U.S. needs more legal migrants. Judging from the questions asked by the White House reporter, President Biden's first press conference on March 25th, much of the Washington press has brought into the right wing media's false narrative that there is an immigration crisis in America. In fact, it's the opposite. The United States desperately needs more, not fewer immigrants. As most demographers, man, geez, come on, man. No, no. Get out of here. The crisis we have is one too few immigrants, not of too many, says Charles Kinney, senior fellow at the Center of Global Development at Washington, D.C. think tank. If you look at the UN projections, they suggest that by 2050, the United States will need 50 million more workers to keep the current uh, proportion of workers to the population overall. America's fertility rates have dropped from 3.65 children per woman in 1960 to 1.73 children per woman in 2021. Wow. According to the World Bank, that's way below the rate of 2.1 children per woman needed to replace the annual deaths in the United States. In the meantime, the growth of America's total immigrant population has been slowing down in recent decades. The total rise in the U.S. foreign born population dropped from 11.5 million people in the 1990s to 8.8 million in the 2000s to 4.8 million in this decade. Look at those drops. Under Trump, the United States administratively reduced legal immigration. Yes, you read it right, about 49%. The drop in international migration combined with the falling birth rates result in what may have been the slowest decade of population growth in U.S. history and does not include the additional decline between 2019 and 2020 connected to the COVID-19. All of this means that we will face a serious labor shortage in the coming years, especially in areas such as nursing, agriculture, manufacturing, and services. And if there aren't enough workers to fill the jobs that not enough Americans want to do, the U.S. government increasingly will be unable to collect taxes it needs to pay for the growing population of retirees. Of course, that's not what you hear on Fox News and other right wing media. They are bombarding us with misleading statistics that tell you about the alleged avalanche of undocumented migrants on the border or about the rise of immigration in the absolute numbers without telling you about the declining U.S. birth rates. What happening today, the U.S. southern border, is a serious humanitarian problem of unaccompanied migrant children, but is not an economic problem. There is a significant increase of young people trying to sneak in the United States from Mexico, but is partly a seasonal phenomenon and partly the result of an escalation of drug violence, corruption, and economic depression in Central America and Mexico. Contrary to the way it is being portrayed in the media and outlets, most of these migrants are not families with babies, but young men. About 82% of the migrants apprehended at the border this fiscal year are single adults, according to the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol data. And among the minors, most are young men ages 16 to 18 fleeing the COVID 19 pandemic related crisis and lured by rapidly growing U.S. economy. It is possible that Biden may have encouraged some of them to head north by sounding less cruel towards immigrants than Trump. Maybe, but that shouldn't be an issue. Rather, the issue, in addition to solving the immediate problem of children without proper facilities to be processed along the border, should be the urgent need for Republicans in Congress to support Biden's immigration bill, in which significantly expand legal immigration to the United States, including temporary work programs. Don't be fooled by the ridiculous claims that we have overall immigration crisis. The real story is that the United States badly needs more legal immigrants and that the Republicans who will have embraced Trump's anti-immigration stance are failing to support the Biden administration bill. This is the guy that wrote this right here. I'm gonna put this in the chat. You can take from that what you will. Um, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You can take from that what you will. Now, now that's crazy, right? That's crazy. That's crazy. So you can take from that what you will. So I just stated it that if people are not having babies, you have to find a way of bringing economics or something if you're people. So that means that the immigrants are basically doing the jobs that most Americans are not going to do. And we see it. People are talking about we're hiring, we're hiring, we're hiring, but you're not paying anything. You're not paying anything worth a wage for someone to live on, or you're not hiring these people and you're getting government money. Hey, don't judge me about my mug. My wife gave it to me. I just like my mug. Don't judge me. Yeah. Favorite mug here, y'all. Favorite mug. Love it. Go Disney World. All right. So now so now we have this last one. I think it's this last one that I have. I think I got this last one here. And this is very important. Now remember I touched on the immigrant status of Afghanistan. So, and this is going to be you start immigrating people from places that you know share, um, what I mean, that will be willing to come in legally and work and have babies and stuff, right? So if you have these millions of women from Afghanistan coming in and you start to bring them in, guess what's going to happen? But you need a representative. You need to quell the masses, right? You need a place where you're going to stick them. And I remember our esteemed brother Cerulean was talking about how they're going to put a lot of these women from Afghanistan, they're going to settle them in Minnesota, in Michigan, and in the Midwest. Amar wants government to monitor Islamic people. Now, Amar wants the government to monitor Islamic people. Now, I don't know how to say her name right. Aina Amar, right? She's a U.S. United States House of Representative of Minnesota. Democratic reps Aina Amar of Minnesota and John Skolowski of Illinois introduced legislation that would create an office to monitor Islamophobic U.S. citizens and anti-Muslim bigotry. Amar hopes the office will help lawmakers understand the interconnected global problem of anti-Muslim bigotry. The bill requires the State Department to create a special envoy for monitoring and combating Islamophobia and include state-sponsored Islamophobic violence and impunity in the Department Annual Human Rights Report. Amon Our office says in a press release, squad members spend close to $100,000 of campaign donations to fund private police forces. Squad members. There's Cortez and Amon, and I think it's the other sister, something like that. We are seeing a rise in Islamophobia in nearly every corner of the globe. Amon says, in my home state of Minnesota, vandals spray paint hate messages and Nazi swastikas on a near the Moorhead Fargo Islamic Center. Let's see. In the past year, roughly 500 complaints of anti-Muslim hate and biases have been documented. This sentiment and discrimination and hatred towards Islamic faith has reached the epidemic proportions, according to the March UN Human Rights Council. As part of the comment in the International Religious Freedom and Human Rights, we must realize Islamophobia and do all we can to eradicate it. So So she's in your houses of in the houses of Congress. She's the representation. So if they get this task force going, then it gets what? It gets these women in acclimated. People will be less Islamic phobic. You're de-incentivizing the behavior of going against these people. These women will be welcomed in. You get people start what? They'll start. These women are not married. They're used to being married. They're used to being under male rule and all this other stuff. They've been socially conditioned while they was in Afghanistan for 20 years. They come over. Guess what? Bam. They're going to work. Bam. They're going to have babies. Bam. And if you can't put everything together, then go back through the stream and you don't even have to listen to me. Just read it. Just read everything that's been laid out, put the clues together, take a step back, get out of your feelings, and think about it. If you're not going to have the babies, this country, the United States of America, is built on immigration. It's built off of immigration. Most countries are, but highly so. Highly so. So if the 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 majority of the population are not having babies, or they're not trying to they're trying to keep the status quo. They're not trying to go and fix the system. If you get married and you have a kid, give benefits, lower the rate on insurance, subsidize, put that money into those, and people will have children. People will get married. It's just what it is. You have to incentivize the institution of marriage. You have to give people time off to raise their kids. You have to invest more in the educational system. You have to subsidize people's workload for when they work. Even the Pope said that we having a baby shortage in America. Even the Pope said, and said it's because of economics. Economics, 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 economics. We keep saying this thing about gentrification. And it's not gentrification, it's assimilation. If you look into these neighborhoods where people are moving out of them and they're bulldozing them, look at where the children at. Where the kids? They're shutting down schools, not because of lack of funding, it's because lack of bodies to put in those schools mainly. And a lot of us as minorities live in these cities, these major cities, and kind of like outside in the scope of things. But economics is economics. If the economy is down, birth rates are going to be down. Violence is going to be up. Mental health is going to be down. People are worried about raising their children. And if I have the opportunity of not raising children in a messed up society and I get a choice of it and I can still do the natural bodily functions of having sex without the precursor, then it is. Shy. Hold on, let me look at here, man, before I get too serious with this. It has it has utility. What's up, right? What's going on? This will be your. Let's see what we got in here, man. Let's see what Vaughn has to say. The state of the world today does not make a person want to have children. These are facts, men or women. Don't it doesn't even make you want to even get married or have. Don't want to make you. Yeah, do anything, right? It's just a whole mess. It's just a whole mess. There's no incentivization for marriage on both sides of the spectrum, or even to stay married. You know what I mean? Like to stay married. You know what I'm saying? Like it's it gets out of hand. I understand why certain things are in place. You know, if everything is if things are not balanced, then one side it'll be slighted. You know what I mean? So I get it. I understand it. I get it. It's not, and marriage is hard work, man. Like marriage, like remember, man. Listen, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna look into this camera. I'm gonna tell you this. A marriage is only successful until one person dies in the marriage while you still married. These are facts because it's the contract. The contract isn't until we raise three children and they get to the age of 18 or they're grown. The contract isn't um until 10 years from now, and then we'll get a divorce, right? Like we can split up, right? The contract, if you go by the contract of how everybody has a preacher and they sit on there, they say, they vows and they say until death do you part. That means someone has to die for the marriage to be successful. You know what I'm saying? Look, I'm married and my marriage isn't successful because it's still in progress because I haven't died and my wife hasn't died. So, only a widower or a widow can actually basically sit up there and claim that they had a successful marriage. I know it's hard to fathom that, but that is the reality of it. I'm like, you can get in your feelings all you want about it, but that's what it really is. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? This really is. Economics, and I'm an economist. I love economics. Facts, facts. F it, ladies. I'm now ready to do my part. I'm done with Jay Shot, man. Let's see. You're trying to have some babies. Oh god. Let's see. Listen to what people do. America is a hypocrite. America's actions have spoken and it is not pro-family. That is facts. It is absolutely facts. It is not pro-family. I'm like, and um, if you think about it, the greatest asset a country can have is people. And they talking about economics and you need people to work. And the baby boomer generation, they're older and they gonna come and collect. Let's see. So I'm ready to do my duty, bud. Okay, to be fair, I grew up a 7-day Adventist, and our customs are closely follow Islam. Okay, so if they die at the same time, is it unsuccessful? It's successful. It's successful. Um, when they died at the same time, it's successful because they both died. See, they both died and they were still married. So death do you part, right? So yeah, like it was that I care. But so I don't want to keep you guys so long. I appreciate it, man. I hope this is a conversation that we'll have with some type of decency and decorum. If we have these conversations again, but ultimately, um, you can't blame so much of if you live in a country, if you live in some type of economic society or something like that, you can't ultimately blame like the person only or their situation, right? Because it's like the government, the culture, and everybody does it differently. Like in Japan, they have a they have a baby shortage, but the reason why their baby shortage isn't the same is they incentivize marriage, but the problem is that they haven't evolved where the economy is the economy, and it's more of a like unemployment rate in Japan is very low. Like it's in like maybe like 5%. But the problem is that the youth and people they don't want to live like that. You know what I mean? Like they don't want to work 6 days a week and be away from their family and not involved, especially the men. So they're not trying to have kids. When I first got to Japan, I already saw that they were having kids at later ages. So, I already saw what was happening. I just thought it was a part of their culture. But the way their system is set up, they and they're having problems with people having kids because the younger it's the men that are saying no, I don't want to work 6 days a week. I don't want to be driven to the bone and oppressed by the patriarchal society or just grinding in the dust for what? For what? I'm not there with my kids. I don't get to spend no time. I'm just working just to be working. This ain't cool. You know what I mean? And this is why they were fighting for the Olympics for so much because it's to get that international attention to basically you know rival these other countries like Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, where the cost of living is cheaper. The average work week there is like 4 days a week. people, they don't live in a food desert. Stuff ain't hype, like shit is cheap. You don't have to pay a lot for a lot of things. And you can just live a easy going life, and family is more um, family is just more, more incentivized to be married and have a family, you know. So hey, it is what it is. Let's go through these comments right here. Oh, really? Don't let the SY. Hey, man, I'm just here so I don't get fined. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just here so I don't get fined, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Joe W, what's going on, brother? Thank you for coming through. You know what I'm saying? And everybody. Yeah, something has to give. What I mean, like we even touched on Europe and stuff like that. But the birth rates are weird because they had open borders, right? So just because a person is German, they'll be married to someone in Sweden, and then they'll have a kid and they'll want to live in Sweden, or vice versa, or whatever. So the birth rates are evened out in Europe. It's not as bad, but the United States is a whole different ballgame. And we see it. It's one side is like, hey, we need people to go back to work. But you're not going, like, listen, people ain't trying to work at like a call center making $12, $13 an hour, where the national average is they need to be pulling in at least 3,500 to live a borderline okay life. And you're talking about health insurance. The healthcare system is shot totally. I think I might touch on that because we get into the winter months. I might go into what the different healthcare systems and what their healthcare system is or something like that. I might talk about that on another stream or something like that. But this goes down to economics, man. Like this goes down to economics. In the millennial generation, we are taking over. You know what I'm saying? Us and the Xers, we are taking over. We're going to be the leaders of this, but the birth rates are low. We're not having birth rates are low, and then eh, birth rates are low, man. And this thing is, this ain't a quick fix. Like you got to get the disease and the alphas to 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 pick up the birth rate, and then I don't think they gonna do it because they ain't trying to do it. You know what I mean? They ain't trying to do it. We got a lot of problems and a lot of issues with society, but this is what happens when you enter a new a revolution, right? If you look at the Industrial Revolution, they had the same problem, and but they had the war and all of that, and then they had that boom, but that's why you get you get the 60s where you notice the numbers say 67, but we keep forgetting about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. We forget about Woodstock. We forget about like that free love era. We forget about all of that boosted, they had your baby boom, that boosted those birth rates. But then the economy couldn't keep up with those birth rates. And then you see how that worked out, right? So I hope that I touched on a lot of. I think I touched around the same subjects. I tried to bring it all together from different sources, not just one sided. You know what I mean? I hope that y'all got across. And like I said before, if you have a difference of opinion, if you want to bring some more facts to the table, if you want to go through and read exactly what it is, maybe I missed something. In the, what I mean? I'm just bringing this up so people understand what's going on. And me personally, it's the system. The system is broken. And we need to understand, we need to stop blaming each other. Actually, by our actions in whole, we stop blaming each other. If you actually look at it, what I mean, the men in action aren't blaming the women because they're just going against the environment. And if the environment is not conducive, they're not participating. And the women aren't participating in that either. So it's the people that's in power that look at people as numbers. And you saw that even with the child support, doing what I was talking about, the child support, when the judges could know each other, know the people, and know the circumstances, he could dial out the child support according to the circumstances. Like if he knew that this man was a good man and he knew what was going on with this woman, or this woman was a good mother, the man would ain't shit, he would adjust the child support according to the situation. Then when they got so many people coming to petition the court for stuff and he stopped knowing, then they had to just like forget it. We just got to put a blanket over it, you know. And sometimes it just doesn't hit like that, and it is what it is. It is what it is. So let's see. Let me just put some up here. Women tired of being blamed and shamed. No more. She trapped me. No more. Kids. Period. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, but you know what I mean. Everything can be true of both. You know what I mean. That Brittany, whatever her name is. Yeah. She actually copped the trapping. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So that's I'm like, but that's like 1%. You know what I mean? And to be honest with you, you know what I mean, it's a loud minority of men running around. You know, they just congregate in maybe one or two spaces. And it's a loud minority of women that speak the way that they speak also. So you know, I take it with a grain of salt. I'm looking at the raw numbers and the data. People are co-parenting more. Child support rates are down. They're down. Listen, I'm 40. I'm a millennial. My son, I had my son about 24. The youngest one was 24, 25. My older two are married. So, and my youngest son is going to be 17 next month. I got one more year. At 41, I won't, you know what I'm saying? So I was in that national average, you know what I'm saying, of between 20. I had my kid like 3 years older. If you look at the average of between, but for, you know what I'm saying, 27, 21, right? So if you look at that, 21. So if you think about it, 21 is when people were having kids. My youngest son was born in 2004, right? I said, glad my wife ain't around here. That boy, she would smack me upside the head. Like, you don't remember your kid's birthday? but, but my youngest son was born in 2004. I was 24 years of age. So I was already 3 years older than the national average of 21. You know what I'm saying? So if you think about it, if you're 40, and then if you're an Xer, right? Because the oldest millennials are 40. So that's 81. So if you were born pre-81, what are you complaining about child support for? Unless you in the rears. That's a whole different discussion for a whole other time that you need to have with you and yourself. You know what I'm saying? So you shouldn't even be complaining. And it already stated the national average. Now, this is the national average. Now, I'm not discounting those people that are going through what they're going through, but the national averages state that women are not having kids until 26 and 26, and men aren't having their first kid until 31. National averages. And it went from men 27, women 21. So 26, 31. So you see that into play. Now, why men having their first time kids at 31 on the national average is because that's when a man makes enough money to actually provide for a family. Why women having that, because that's when they're out of school. Then they got it, like, if you go to 4 year college, you go in at 18, you get out at 22, you ain't really into your career and settled down. Then you got to pay back the student loan debt at 26. You kind of got like where you're going to be. You got a job with some benefits and some pension. You know what I'm saying? I heard Sean in the back. Pension, pension. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, pension, pension, pension. You know what I'm saying? What's going on? so, you know what I mean? So, with that being said, is you we look at these numbers and we look at these things, and then we see that a lot of these conversations that's being had, a lot of these conversations that are being had, they're being had by people that have some type of trauma, and they've gone through what they're gone through, going through what they're going through. And I think we don't need to discount those conversations, but we need to dive deeper and go get the numbers. And when we go get these numbers, and when we go get these numbers, and we go get this data and we go look at it, and we need to stop looking at the data all the time on race based data because they can be skewed either way. We know how our people is. We don't like to take no type of surveys or nothing. It's hard for us to take a survey. So we don't want to take a survey. We don't want to be involved in no type of government action or nothing. Y'all heard the pitch? They gonna try. But um, but when we look at the data overall, because we are American citizens, you know what I'm saying? I'm an American citizen, even though I live in another country. But I'm coming to it more on a geopolitical thing. Like when we talk about like, policies and things that affect America is like America right now for the world is you take a rock and you throw it in a pond, and America is that impact point. When the rock hits the pond, it starts to ripple. And a lot of you don't know that because a lot of you don't live outside the country. And I do, and I've been living out this country for 20 years. And you need to start looking at it more of a broad scope, and we're not as doing as bad as you really think in certain areas. So if the data is showing that people are not having kids and their first time children are coming, regardless if they married, divorced, or they're co-parenting, the single mothers, and the national average for a single mother is 26 years of age. That means personal responsibility comes into play. Remember, your car insurance and things go down. Things get cheaper in life once you get 25. Like, look at the numbers on that. I think we need to talk about that. What's the cost? Things in life gets cheaper if you ride it right. If you take care of your credit, things get cheaper once you hit 25 years of age. The brain starts to fully develop. So women are not having children until the age of 26 on average. Men are not having children until the age of 31 on average. So that means you're fully developed. That means you have cognitive responsibility. That means you've been walking the plane of the earth for 2.5 decades if you're a female on average, and for 3 decades and 1 year as a man. So anything that you get into on average is actually entirely your fault. And you had to take personal responsibility because you were smart enough not to have the kid in those years where you were making mistakes and stuff. So you kept it straight the whole time. So you made that choice and you will have to live with it. Now, that doesn't mean you can't complain about it, but complaining about something is the inability to take action. Where's your solutions? Where's your results? And if you want the world to change and you're 33 and over, my millennials, then you need to get into these books, understand what you're dealing with, because the world will be handed over to you whether you're ready or not. And it's better to stay ready than to get ready. So that's enough for me. I'm gonna go through here, look at these comments real quick. It has you telling your brother he been smoking in this chat right now. Like, share, and subscribe to the stream. We're trying to get up to 500 subs so I can get my community tab. I'm gonna keep my promise. I'm not going to drop anything for any financial support on the channel until I get a community tab, and I'm not going to be up here beating you over the head. So if you ain't seen the Cash App, you ain't seen. Well, we don't have Cash App in Japan. So if you ain't seen a PayPal link or nothing like that, you won't see one. I want to get up to my community tab so I can get it delving deep in here and give you some quality content, stuff like that. But please, and you support the channel as a like, share, and a sub. You know what I'm saying? Anything other than that, I greatly appreciate it. But I'm trying. I would like a goal for myself to get up to 500 subs before the end of this year. So sometimes I say stuff and I'm almost there, and people unsubscribe because I hurt some people's feelings, and I live with that. It's cool. Let's see. There, what do we want to be saying? Yeah, that is true. According to the app that I use, Tinges of society. They could be mothers and not be single. uh, we're solution based over here. That is facts. And even still, maybe my solution might not work for you. But the point that you're trying to find a solution. The point is trying to find a solution. All right. So, you know what I'm saying? Hey man, hey, if it works for you, it works for you. So with that being said, I appreciate everybody coming through. Let me can somebody give me a tally? Because I only got the chat open. I only got the chat popped out. Can somebody tell me how many likes we got on the stream? Let me look at the chat. Somebody give me a, a counter of how many likes we have on the stream, please. One of the mods, if you so highly, just type that in the chat. Oh, we got 19. Appreciate you, appreciate you, appreciate you. 19. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So y'all already know what I'm going to do for y'all. 20, 21. Oh man. All right. I want to make this be annoying and stuff. So y'all know how I'm gonna do it. Turner! 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 All right. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate it. Appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? Appreciate it. Gino cracking up over there. Cracking up over there. Let's see. Just blame there you have. I can't blame the women. I can't blame the women. You know what I'm saying? I can't blame the women. Oh my God. Hey man, listen. Hey, we got the Turner going. You know what I'm saying? We got the Turner going. I gotta get another one. I gotta get another one. What about you know what? The Reverend he's out and about. He trying to get some collections. You know, winter is coming, you know what I'm saying? He trying to get some collections. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it. So and for everybody else, thank you for a lot. We got to get some more. We got to redo the drops. A lot of things have changed over a lot for the rest of the shows. But please check out Char Willie tomorrow. Char, please drop that again. Can you drop that for tomorrow's show in the chat again while I have everybody's attention? You know what I'm saying? Let me let me let me give my thank yous. Get that tap dance going, get that jig going, you know what I mean, for my cheddar biscuits. You know what I'm saying? All right. So tomorrow we're gonna have Char Willie, Classic Ruby, and our sister Vonda over there. You know what I'm saying? So I had a good time with y'all, man. I'm glad y'all sat up here and listened to me ramble and read some stuff. My pronunciations isn't good a lot of times. Uh, you know what I'm saying? So tomorrow night is gonna be great. Go check out Char Willie tomorrow night. It's gonna be great. Please do all of that. At 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm gonna just do that from now on because when I be putting up Japan Standard Time, y'all got daylight savings. They ain't got it over here. So that's 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's like 11 a.m. for me, but I make sure I stop through, give a like, listen. It's always a wonderful discussion. Shar, make sure this time so we don't break Ruby. Make sure the guy have a shirt on, please. I like, please make sure that guy have a shirt on. I'm having nightmares here about that dude without a shirt on. You know what I'm saying? 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Y'all check that out. No one will beg you to be great, but we will hold you accountable. All right. So thank you everybody for coming. Thank you for sharing the stream. Hope you learned something. Please watch the replay. I'll go back and edit if you go, and then I'll drop what I found here. I'll drop what I found here, stuff like that. And oh yeah, and article reactions on Saturday. And Ruby, you better have my currents. She had them last week, so I was happy. I was very happy. She was ready to go. So y'all have a good one, man. Thank you for being here. We've been over. We under 3 hours, so no debauchery to win in place. So y'all have a good one. And I'm gonna give y'all this on the way out. We're gonna be running these little things on here while this happens. And y'all have a hold on, get this in. Y'all have a good one.
I never think, I never know. I'm stuck and left alone. I've been lost, I've been fine. My cause is not defined. Won't you kiss